Hey guys, when I put this 90 proof method together, I was really hoping to combine traditional horsemanship, traditional cowboy values with up to date equine science. That has been the whole goal. That's what advanced horsemanship stands for. That's what we're trying to do. And I really wanted to convey it in an easy to follow, very user friendly package, but the more we get into the brain science and the equine science of things, the harder and harder it is to convey, especially with evidence, in an easy way. So if you guys like the bar talks, if you like the short little training videos I'm putting out, and that's more your style, absolutely go watch those videos. Go keep following those. This one we're gonna deep dive a little bit. So if you really want to deep dive with us, stick around. Might be a little bit hard to follow. Okay, so let's start here. In the 1970s, a scientist named John O'Keefe made a discovery that helped explain the internal GPS some animals have. He put rats into a maze and made a couple of observations. When a rat was introduced to the beginning section of a maze, there was a cell activated in the hippocampus. When the rats got to a new section of the maze, that cell would turn off and an adjacent cell would activate. This happened at each landmark section of the maze. O'Keefe also observed that when the rats were resting, the same cells were taking turns activating, but this time in reverse order. He called these cells place cells, and hypothesized that they were storing location information such as surroundings, feelings, sound, and that the rats were rerunning the maze in their sleep. In 2005, two scientists were studying rats exploring larger open spaces as opposed to a track or a maze. As they observed a deeper part of the brain, the interhinal cortex, they found that there were actually many cells firing at once. These cells were aligned in a near-perfect, equidistant hexagon, and no matter where the rats traveled, they were building a mathematical map of speed, distance, direction, and location. They called these cell clusters grid cells. And just like place cells, these patterns were repeated during sleep. With the place cells documenting surroundings, feelings, and sound, and the grid cells documenting position, distance, and speed, these rats were able to very quickly learn and memorize the environments they were placed in. Some animals, like humans, show very little activity in this area of the brain, but rats, bats, pigeons, and horses show very high activity. In a controlled environment like the arena or the round pen, the horse adapts quickly. The environment becomes predictable, and once that happens, the horse's nervous system is going to downshift. That's really good for relaxation, but it also means the horse's brain stops recording information so aggressively. You can still teach there, but the progress slows because the brain isn't prioritizing memorization. Now, out on the trail, on the range, working on the ranch, in the feedlots, the opposite is actually true. When a horse enters a new environment, its grid cells immediately go to work mapping space, terrain changes, distance traveled, direction, slope, footing. While the internal maps are being built, the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for learning and memory, is in a heightened recording state. It's paying attention because novelty signals importance. Now, while the grid cells are mapping the environment, the hippocampus is really paying attention to everything else that happens at the same time. So while the horse is figuring out where the trail bends, how far it's gone, the speed you're going, what's over the hill, your horse is also learning at the same time how the saddle feels, the rhythm of the walk, trot, lope, the pressure of the rein, the balance of the rider, the feel of everything else that's going on during a ride. In the arena, those same cues are competing with boredom and frustration and predictability, but outside, they're actually piggybacking on what the brain has already switched to when it's in documenting mode. This is why ranch horses come along so fast, and it isn't because ranch hands are just magically better trainers than arena trainers, but it's actually because doing that work out and about is aligned with how that horse is supposed to be learning. Riding fence, checking cattle, traveling grounds gives the horse context, purpose, and novelty all at once, which is exactly what you need to quickly put that information into that horse's long-term memory. And even on top of that, the learning doesn't end when the ride is done. Afterwards, during rest, the hippocampus replays that ride because again, that horse is documenting location information. And going back to the grid cells and to the place cells, it was observed in rats that those cells are constantly on repeat. And when they are running those simulations, when they're asleep, they're not just getting the location information, but they're also getting the scenery and the movement and the cues and all of the things we're trying to get that horse to work on. And the more they replay it, it's going to get into that long-term memory much, much faster than the short-term memory we get in the arena. And if you haven't experienced it, I'll let you know right now, sometimes a horse that struggles with a cue in the arena can suddenly feel super soft and willing out on the trail, and when you ride them outside for a couple days, because that information just it's not just getting stored, it's getting practiced over and over again while they're in their rest state. So getting a horse out early is not about rushing or skipping steps or jumping the gun. It's not about sacking them out and getting them used to the environments and seeing new places. It's really about using your horse's natural learning system to your advantage. You're letting the brain do the heavy lifting instead of fighting that horse's natural predispositions. And when training works with the nervous system instead of against it, your training is not going to just come faster. It's also going to stick for a lot longer. Hopefully, some of that made sense. I would like to do a lot more videos on this stuff. This kind of work is the basis of my program. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.